At the start of this week, I asked these simple questions. How do you make an enemy pick up a card from its hand? How do you move the enemy to the proper position in the grid to hit the player unit with the cards? And how do you make the enemy activate the cards? That's right. This week, it's all about getting the enemy to use the cards that are drawn during their turn. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Deck Tactics Devlog. For those of you who are new here, this is Deck Tactics, a roguelike tactics deck builder game I'm currently making in the Godot game engine. In the last devlog, I showcased the card edit I made. This week, I focus on the enemy AI again. Here is a look at how the enemy acts before the change. As you can see, the way they behave is rather simple. They move closer to their target by finding the closest unit, and then they attack. This is the default behavior. In order to change the enemy behavior and make it a bit more interesting to fight against, we need to give it more actions to perform during battles. To edit the enemy's behavior, we need to dive into its state machines. If this is the first time you heard of the term, a finite state machine is a programming pattern that splits an object into a finite number of states with only one state being active at once. There's more to it than that, but you can find a lot of tutorials discussing the topic online. My recommendation for Godot users is to go check out GD Quest tutorials on their website. The state machine I'm using is actually from there. There are currently two state machines in the game. One resides within the main node, the other one is in the game board node. The one that controls the enemy AI is in the game board node. So let's have a look at the state diagram for the game board state machine. The main part of the code that I need to work on is in the enemy control state, which is the brain of the enemy in iGame. In order for the enemy to start using the cards they have drawn from their deck, we need to do three things. First, find all the cards the enemy can play during their turn. Second, find the tiles and direction the enemy needs to go to in order for the cards to be of any use. And lastly, activate the cards. The first thing on the list is easy enough. Basically, to find all the cards the enemy can play, we first check the energy requirement of each card against the unit's available energy. For the second thing, it's a bit more complicated. The most important functions is the find card target functions, which will check if the card's attack area intersects with the player unit tiles. We will look at the code first, then I'll explain how it all works. The first thing we get are the tiles where the enemies can get to. We do a little check if the enemy's movement will invalidate the cards. If the enemy moves and there isn't enough energy to activate the cards, we clear the walkable cell variables and only get the tiles it is currently standing on. We then go through every tiles where the enemies can get to and check if the tiles is a possible location the enemies can activate the cards. To check if a tile is a possible location for the cards to activate, we get the area of effect of the cards, then check if the area of effect intersects with anything. We record the place where the enemy is at into a variable and also records its direction. Then we rotate the same area of effect to see if it intersects with anything in the other directions and do the same thing as the step before this. One thing to note in my game, direction is important. The area of effect of attacks, abilities, and spells will orientate themselves to the unit's directions. That's why we rotate the area of effect. The last thing is a check in place to see if the card's area of effect will hit another enemy. If it does, then we don't put it in the variable that we will return in these functions. Without this check, enemy will attack each other when using their cards. Anyway, the function is still incomplete at this moment. I still need to do a couple of things to make it whole, like checking if the card hits multiple targets, but that's about it for how the enemy AI finds its targets. The next thing to do is to activate the cards, which we just need to call the functions I already made for the player if they want to activate their cards. This is called in the enemy use card state. Here is a look at how the enemy acts once they can use their cards. The rook actually scares me a bit when there are multiple of them. They can zip through the map if they are aligned properly towards you, and they can hit pretty hard. And that's about it, how I made the AI do its thing. For next week, I'm going to focus on another part of the game, so I'll leave it at that for now. And that's about it. No. So see you next week. Goodbye.